Hello, hello, hello. How are you? How's everybody? Welcome, welcome, welcome to week 4 of the YouTube 16-week guided session. I am excited that you're here. I'm excited Mr. Sandeep he's up here with me. I usually don't see him. So this is really awesome. Hello, hello, hello. I just want to go down and first and foremost, I'm going to welcome our new members. We have Maria and Poisey. Hello, hello, hello. But the team is in the building. Hello, Mr. Sandeep. Hello, Ms. Mills. And I think they're going to start coming in. And as they come in, I'm going to say, hey, all right, I think I saw Miss Haley. Hi, Miss Haley. And we have some interns here, Miss Star Wars Girl, and that's all I see for now. So hello, 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 Amber. These are our students now. And Kay Angeles, I think I'm saying it wrong, but I want to thank you for your survey. I remember you. And then we have Shak Khan or Shaka Khan. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, Francois. I just want to know, how does my mic sound? That's why I'm saying hello. That's why I'm spending a lot of time saying hello, but it's not why I'm saying hello. How does my mic sound? Is it okay? Is it loud? Is it clear? All right. Okay, Chicky Lynn. And if you have a different name, I probably won't say it. Hi, intern, Miss Beth. I see you. I probably won't say it because I'm gonna just butcher it. Now, if you want me to, holler your name out, you're gonna have to help me, okay? First, give me permission. Great. Someone said they can hear me. Great. All right. The purpose of this class is not to instruct. No, we do get some people saying, hey, I need more instruction. But this is not the instructional piece. The instructional piece are the classes on that playlist, right? We want to The purpose of this class is to be more accessible to you, to answer questions. We have some of the best and the brightest in the industry in your chat, and they're here to answer your questions. Also, I want to know what you already know. So I can kind of guide you. I want to give you tips on how to navigate your course, the YouTube course, and I want to point out key guidelines that you need to know for that medical coding exam. Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna make sure you're straight. Okay, thank you. Chicky Lynn says she's learning so much. That's what I'm talking about. All right, thanks, Francois. Okay, so no new announcements other than this is not the MCDC course. A lot of people think it is. It is not. It is the AMCI YouTube course, and trust me, it's one of the best out there. Trust me. Paid or not. It's not better than MCDC, but it's one of the best out there, rest assured. Okay, so we meet every week around the same time on Thursdays. And I want to tell you on Mondays, I don't know how many of you have been able to go, but on Mondays, we have a free guidelines mastery class with our very own Miss Haley. And the people that are going to this guideline masteries class, they are rocking the guidelines because they test and study the guidelines before this class, and I can see them. I'm like, OMG. So whatever you're doing, Miss Haley, keep doing it. You are rocking it out. And then on Wednesday nights, that was yesterday, we have an interactive medical terminology and anatomy and physiology class. It's called I'm Tap, and that's with Ms. Mills and her team. And that is our most popular class. A lot of people love it. You're learning medical terminology and anatomy without any books, and you're having a great time. All right, just want to let you know that the MCG is available, the 2026 ebook. So if you want to get it, you can go to our website, www.amcicoding.com, and click on that MCG manual. Now, just want to remind you, a lot of people are asking, how do I sign up for the YouTube course? So you go to our website, www.amcicoding.com, YouTube course, right there. Boom. And after you click that link, you'll just read the overview. Then click the enrollment form and click on the syllabus. Now, I recommend that you enroll for two reasons. Number one, every Monday, Sunday or Monday, we send you an email letting you know what's going on, like a little reminder to help keep you accountable. We will not email you a lot about sales and signing up for this and that. We're only going to do it on Mondays. But I have to tell you, at the end of the year, we do have our biggest sale of the year. I will email you because you know what? A lot of people want it. Our MCDC course is 50% off. So don't mean to bombard you, but at the end of the year, that's the only time. All right. A lot of people get mad because they don't know. So we do have to tell you. So just enroll here and then click on your syllabus and get started. Now, this is from your syllabus. In order to get to class every day on your syllabus, we have the links. Only weeks 1 through 8 are there because I just don't like to inundate people. 9 through 16 will appear a little later, but just click on the link, boom, you can RSVP for this class. Down below, you'll see on the screen after you click the link, this notify me button. Click that notify me button and you have RSVP'd. My advice, click all of them at the same time. Just click them all, boom, 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 and you're good. You don't need us to remind you. Now, textbooks. Textbooks are also on your syllabus. Just under required textbooks, you can find it. Now, for today's class, you're going to need your ICD-10-CM, and the MCG manual is very helpful too. All right? But MCG manual, do what you can afford. It is costly. It is. And if you want to save money, I say get the 2025. And if you want to save any more money, if you already have the 2025, do not buy the 2026. Yes, there are changes, but I think you can save a lot of money. And the changes aren't that significant. All right, so Discord, the instructions on how to join Discord are on your syllabus. So go and take a look at it. Now, this is what you should have already completed for week 4. For this class, you should have done the week 4 work already. And it's all in order. We're following the same flow. So I'm not going to read it line by line. I'm going to focus on what we need to focus on. And that's, kind of doing the work. But I do want to tell you that the playbacks, if you want to watch or look at the playback, you just click on the green buttons because this is your playlist. And this is what it looks like. So playbacks from this class are on your playlist. And they're going to have this pretty green and blue button, and they're placed where they should be. And if they're not where they should be, sometimes they fall out of place. Sometimes they do. So we have to keep an eye on this playlist. Just scroll all the way down to the bottom and maybe it hit itself there, but they should be in order as the class takes place. So there's nothing for week 4 yet because this class is not over. All right. All right. Now, just want to show you that the MCD, a lot of people are thinking that the gold YouTube course, people that have the gold online course, they get an LMS and their work is here in in their LMS, their learning management system. So their learning is managed. They're not using a syllabus. The only difference between your course and their course is theirs is managed. There's two things. And the other thing is we did give them some quizzes. So we gave them quizzes in many of their modules. Now, this gold course is not the MCDC course. That is our flagship course, right? And so I kind of did a side-by-side comparison just so you know. Both courses, the YouTube course and the MCDC course, both give you comprehensive medical coding instruction. They both prepare you for the exam, the medical coding exams, the CPC and the CCSP for the YouTube, and the MCDC prepares you for all three. Now, the cost, the YouTube course is free, and the MCDC is paid. Now, the primary platform is YouTube for YouTube, but if you're gold, you have your LMS, and the MCDC has their own LMS. The foundational depth is strong for your course. The MCDC, the foundational depth is deeper, and you have tons of private lectures. Like I walk you through certain guidelines, and my instructors do too. The live webinars are limited. The MCDC students have 5. They can attend 5 a week, different ones that we have scheduled. The instructor access is limited to this webinar, this live, and MCDC students, theirs is either immediate when they're in these 5 sessions, or within 24 hours, we're responding to them. So specific updates, they're limited with YouTube, because once we upload that video, that is that video. Whereas the MCDC, their updates and instructional videos are continuous. A certificate of completion, yes, if you're in the gold course, you get a certificate of completion. MCDC students get a certificate of completion worth 80 credit hours, and that's good for the CPCA removal. And we have some other perks too, job assistance, internships, and much, much more. I just didn't want to kind of overdo it. But the MCDC course is costly. Who has that kind of money, right? Some people do, some people don't. But if you want access to the AMCI private lectures, again, this course is only YouTube lectures, and the gold course is only YouTube lectures. But if you want the private lectures and you can't really afford the MCDC, I would select that a la carte. We offer a la carte courses, and they're inexpensive. They're $59.99 a month. You just use what you need, and that's the route I would go. So we have part 1, 2, 3. Oh, let's go back. So 1, 2, 3, 4, you could select either one of these. This is the most cost-effective way. But I will tell you, if you are new to medical coding, and let's say you're here, I would take this part 1, because we have instructional videos for all of the CPT, like foundational, not easy peasy, but stuff that you need to know. So I would do part 1, 2, 3, and select one of the courses, exam preps that you're going to interested in, CCSP or CPC. Now, my honest take, this is a great complement to the free course. It is. It's a great complement. You have access to all of the AMCI public and private lectures. But look, I started typing and then I kind of stopped. I don't think this is great for people who need to have access to all of the material at one time. Yes, you can buy all of them at one time and kind of go back and forth, but um, it's not optimal. We have this bundle. I suggest that you do that. And it's not great if you need AMCI instructors and you need all the other perks. So that's it. So sorry about that. I got sidetracked. All right, so I'm done with that. Now let's get into this instruction. Let's do it. All right, it's week 4. And this week we're going to talk about endocrine, pain, psych, eyes. No, we're not going to talk about psych and eyes because they have limited guidelines. They have guidelines, but limited. We're really, really going to talk about endocrine and pain. And you should really know many of these guidelines or have seen these guidelines, not necessarily know it. And you should always apply general coding guidelines. So the guidelines A, you should always apply them. So those are general guidelines and what do you call those? Conventions. You should be familiar with specific diseases within the diabetes diagnostic categories. So you should know the difference between type 1 and type 2. You don't need to know a whole lot, but you should know the difference, right? You should be familiar with some of the diseases in the nervous system, right? And also, you should be familiar already with how to reference a specific guideline, either from the MCG, the ICD-10-CM manual, or the CMS PDF that we provide you. If you're just learning to look up codes, this is not for you. Not yet. But if you'd like to stay, please stay. All right. So this is an advanced discussion, right? So there's a perception or presumption that you've already learned how to look up codes. All right. Now let's go ahead and review. All right. So put your answers in the chat. This is true and false. If the provider documents diabetes mellitus and neuropathy, but does not specify a linkage between the two, the coder should not assume neuropathy is related to diabetes. True or false? What say you? Okay, so I'm not going to take a whole lot of time, but I want to tell you all you are doing a phenomenal job just answering, right? And the way it's written, I can see why people said false, but this is true. This is true because you should never assume that anything is linked. There are some guidelines that actually tell you to assume. Like when we get to circulatory, the guideline's going to say, hey, the causal relationship is presumed. But this is not the thing here. Don't assume anything. You let that doctor link it. The doctor must say that the diabetes is due to, the diabetes is related. Okay? All right. Good job, everybody. Good job, especially if you learned something. All right, now this is a guideline reference, but I just want to know if you know it. So either you can look it up or you don't. Let's just kind of go with it. So I don't expect you to get this right, but if you do, that's awesome. If you learn something, even better. True or false? When a patient has diabetes mellitus with chronic kidney disease, the ICD-10-CM guideline requires the coder to assign both a diabetes code with the CKD manifestation, in other words, a combination code, and an additional code to identify the stage of the CKD. Do you know it? True or false? What say you? Okay, I see some ahas coming through. That's right, Kathy Jones. And you know what? I just want to say hello to our newest member, Adrod. Welcome, Adrot. Excuse me, Adrot. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And you guys are rocking it in the chat. Don't be afraid. We all were there. At AMCI, we don't judge you at all. We're not going to do it. Nope. All right, great job, everybody. So if you said true, outstanding. Why is this never assume linkage here? Okay, disregard that. Maybe I was doing something. But anyway, when a patient has, diabetes and, CKD, yes, you will use a combination code and you also code that stage. All right, we got another one. True or false? According to ICD-10-CM guidelines, if a patient uses insulin but the type of diabetes is not documented, long-term use insulin code Z79.4 should be reported with type 1 E10.9 because it is insulin-dependent diabetes. True or false? What say you? Okay, those answers are coming through, and you all said false. Absolutely. Absolutely. The diabetes, the default when diabetes is not documented is E11 when a patient's using long term use of insulin. So, when long term use insulin is documented, E11 type 2 will be the default. In fact, type 2 is the default. Someone had a request, and I think it was a fair request, and they said, hey, essentially, when we get to CPT, can we have I think more specific instruction. Again, this is not the instruction. This is not the instruction. On your playlist is the instruction. So, what I need you to do is click on your syllabus and check out the instruction for CPT. All right. That was a great question. It was and suggestion, but we've already done it. All right. So, the answer is false, and hopefully you all understand that if you didn't get it correct. And this is the guideline that I was referencing, guideline IC483. When diabetes mellitus and the use of insulin, when it's not documented, you have to sequence first E11, that's type 2, followed by your insulin. All right, number 4, true or false? When diabetes mellitus is documented with a manifestation such as CKD, the ICD-10-CM guidelines instruct the coder to assign only the diabetes code because the manifestation is included in the combination code. What say you? This is kind of tricky, and I'm going to tell you why it's tricky. The part after because the manifestation is included. Um, so the question is the you need to answer is only one code required? Is it true or false that you assign one code? I don't like that because the reason, but do you assign one code or nah? True or false? I don't mean to confuse you all. So is it true that you assign one code or false? Yeah, what say you? And you all are rocking it. Jeanette, Yvonne, K for kitchen. You know what? I think I've seen you once, or maybe acknowledged you once, but welcome, welcome, welcome. Kenyo, hello. Okay, Kathy Jones again. Mrs. Serious About Meals, you guys are rocking. The answer is false. False. Absolutely. You assign more than one code. If someone has CKD, you're going to always assign the stage 2. Yes, there is a combination code, a diabetes or diabetic combination code, but you're also going to have to assign that CKD. So that's why it's false. Outstanding. And also, when you look up these codes, specifically diabetes type 2, CKD, it tells you use an additional code to assign for to account for the stage. And I'm going to tell you, these instructional notes are gold. They're gold. And as far as I'm concerned, that's like tap. Yeah, those are tap. All right, true or false? When a patient's seen for chronic pain and the underlying neurological condition is unknown, the ICD-10-CM guidelines permit coders to use general chronic pain code and sequence it first. True or false? True or false? What say you? That's right. Everyone's doing a fantastic job. You know, I cannot stress that enough. You all are rocking it. You are rocking it. And we're going to have some aha moments. We're going to learn a lot today. I love these true and false because it lets me know where we need to be. And it is true. Yeah, there is a guideline. I'll show you later that when a person has chronic pain, you can sequence the chronic pain first. Yeah, even if the site is unknown, even if the neurological condition is unknown too. And this is the code you would use, G86.29, other chronic pain or chronic pain not elsewhere classifiable. All right, true or false? If a patient has right-sided hemiplegia, but the documentation does not specify patient dominancy, in other words, the documentation doesn't say whether or not the patient is right or left-handed, then the presumption is that the hemiplegia is on the patient's dominant side. True or false? What say you? Someone says they need support outside of HCC coding guidelines. You know what? That's true because HCC is so specific, specific to probably where you work. So that is a good assessment. It is. And Miss Beth says she loves seeing all the participation. I know that's right. Okay. So the answer is you guys are rocking this. You are. I just love the fact that you're taking the initiative. The initiative says whether you're right or wrong, the answer is true. Yes, it's true. And I struggled with this before, but I no longer struggle. And you know what? You're not either, because I'm going to simplify this guideline for you. All right. So when dominancy is undocumented, in other words, they didn't say if the patient is right or left-handed. The guideline presumes that the patient is right-handed and follows the right hand rules. I'm going to let that marinate. All right. So the guidelines say act like the patient's left right-handed. Follow that rule. That's what it's saying. Now, if the patient is ambidextrous, that means they write with both hands, the side of the injury, illness, or disease will be considered that patient's dominant side. So if they had a injury on the left side, they're ambidextrous, right? They write with their left hand. So that is their dominance. Does that make sense? Okay, Lucky. That's what I'm talking about. Yep. And the reason right hand is the dominancy when you don't know is because, like Miss Star Wars Girl said, the majority of the population is right-handed. Yeah, so yeah, we got a bunch of gems in here. Okay, so I got a sidebar gem for you. And try and be able to recognize these codes on site. Try to recognize E10. E10.9, that's diabetes type 1. E11.9, that's type 2. And just so you know, I believe it's Miss Mills. Miss Mills, you didn't kind of confirm it or not, but to know the difference on site, E10 type 1 has 1 1. So type 1 has 1 1, type 2 has 2 1s, right? So on site, you should know that. In fact, while we're doing our exercises, try and remember those, okay? Z79.4, this is long-term insulin. This is treatment. And E66.9 is not relevant today, but it's good to know if you're studying for the CCS, this is good, especially dehydration, being able to recognize E86.0. And just to let you know, if you're taking your CCS, you need to master the ICD-10-CM guidelines, more so than CPT. Just saying. All right, so that's your gem. Just try and remember them. And for this class, try and remember E10 and E11. Now, the sidebar gem for the nervous system, be able to recognize these codes on site. R52, this is pain. It's a sign or symptom. That's a R, right? And also G89.29, this is chronic pain that has not been specified or not been, um, there's maybe it's been specified, but this is the general chronic pain. Even though it's an NEC code, if the doctor says the patient has chronic pain but didn't say anything else, this is the code. I know, was G89.29. It looks like a non-specific code, but it's classified to, you know, other. And also G89.3, this is neoplasm related pain. So you'll need to know that too, not for today's session, but just know that. And why do you need to know that? It's going to give you a time advantage when you take your medical coding exams. All right. So just want to show you that for people that are asking, how do I find the guidelines in the MCG? Just pull out your MCG, click on your table of contents, scroll down to whatever your chapter on. If you're on Endocrine, chapter 4, click that. Chapter 6, that's as easy as it is. So hopefully that's helpful. Now let's get to business. We've got some challenges. All right. Of the following answers, which best describes the encounter? A, E10.9, B, E11.9, C, E11.65, and D, E10.9 and R73.09. A 60-year-old male has been seen for elevated blood sugar. The provider documents diabetes mellitus. What say you? Go ahead, type your answers in the chat. Okay, I know I should have probably come back sooner. Yeah, this is kind of a simple one, and this is one that I wanted you to be able to answer without looking it up. And now this is how we answer. If this is your first time here, we write down the inventory. We inventory any diagnoses, signs, symptoms, treatment, and or procedures. In this case, the patient was seen for elevated blood sugar, and then the provider documents diabetes. So right off the bat, I'm going to eliminate elevated blood sugar, right? Because it is a symptom of, oh no, that's a sign. It's a sign of diabetes. Does anybody know the difference between a sign and a symptom? Yeah, somebody says see. Yes, it's what you can see. So the doctor can read the blood sugar level, right? A sign is something you can see. A symptom is from the patient's perspective, typically what they can feel, right? Okay, great job. All right, so I'm going to eliminate D because this other abnormal blood glucose is not specific, right? And then I'm going to go to my guidelines, and my guidelines say, hey, we've got combination codes, but that's only when the patient has a diabetic complication. In this case, this patient only has diabetes, right? So this diabetes type 2 with hyperglycemia, that would not be correct. The patient was not diagnosed with that, so we can get rid of it. And I do want to tell you that if a patient came in with uncontrolled diabetes, that is hyperglycemia. Now, that is something you should know. Uncontrolled diabetes is hyperglycemia. So, if this documentation said this patient's seen for uncontrolled diabetes and documents diabetes, then you would have to code it as hyperglycemia. How do you know that, Mrs. J? Because if you looked up uncontrolled diabetes, it points you to hyperglycemia. So what we've done was, because you need to know it, because you're moving fast on the exam and you could miss that, we did put it in the MCG. So it does say uncontrolled is hyperglycemia. All right, so that leaves us with type 1 and 2, right? And we just learned that when the diabetes is not documented, the default will be type what? Well, guideline IC4A2 says when the type of diabetes is not documented, the default is type 2, right? Type 1 is juvenile diabetes, often diagnosed during childhood, often. But adults have juvenile diabetes too because they grow up. But type 2 is the most common and therefore it is the default. So if you said B, outstanding. That's right, Mr. Sandeep. They are rocking the chat. All right, I'm going to take a moment. How are you feeling? That's right, Ms. Haley. They are participating very, very well. And that's all I want to see. I just want you to be comfortable enough. Be comfortable enough to get them wrong every time. Don't worry, because I'm going to tell you, you're going to get some of them right next time. I promise you. All right, got another scenario. Oh, I got a gem before that. So here's the gem. For the exam, never assume anything unless the guidelines say you can. So that's just a general gem. All right, let's do it again. Let's try it again. Of the following answers, which best describes the encounter? A, E11.3211, B, E11.3212, C, E11.3192, D, E11.331. A 72-year-old woman, oh, also too, I do want to know, I want you to try and answer this question before I complete reading the scenario. So I'm going to slow down, okay? A 72-year-old woman with long-standing type 2 diabetes is seen for worsening blurry vision. Ophthalmology documents moderate, non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy with macular edema, right eye. Okay, coders, how many of you are writing down the keywords? You can say no, I won't be mad. Muku. Hello, hello. Hi, Swanson. You guys are doing an amazing job. I want to know who's writing down their inventory. Who's inventorying? Okay, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to give you a few more moments. I love it. I love it. I love it. Outstanding. That is what I want to see. People are answering that question in record time. You know you're saving time. You are. All of the questions on the exam are not guideline based, but some of them aren't. And a question like this is not. It just requires you to be forensic. So I'm going to write down my inventory so I am not going so I don't make a mistake. This patient has type 2 diabetes mellitus. Blurry vision is worsening. Moderate, non-proliferative, diabetic retinopathy with macular edema, right eye. And if you notice I'm saying moderate like that, that is a key word that always jumps out whenever you have these, because often when you have moderate, there is a mild and there might be some complex level, right? So moderate is a major keyword for me. All right. So the patient has diabetes mellitus. All of the answers have diabetes mellitus, right? And look at this. Boom, 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 boom. Moderate. Look at that. Now I got to make sure everything else measures up. This is non-proliferative diabetic retinopathy. So too is this, and so too is this. Both with macular edema. And then these two are right eye. This is left eye. Man, we got the answer just like that. The answer is D because the key words just line up. So forensic accuracy is key. You need to lock in on those key words. Now, you all rocked this one. And does anybody else have a method that they want to share that helped them lock in on the correct answer? Anybody have one? But my advice is to, like, whenever they have mild, moderate, high, or whatever, make sure that you lock in on that because that's going to drive you. It's going to at least help you get rid of the words, that don't say that. And there's often one, at least one. Thank you, Kathy. All right, so if you all said D, outstanding, outstanding, and you all just saved some time, I'm telling you. All right, got another scenario. Of the following answers, which best describes the encounter? A, E11.21, N18.32. B, N11. I don't like that. At least you didn't see the answer. All right, N11.29, N18.32. C, E10.22, N18.32, and D, E11.9, N18.32. Now, coders, if we're looking at the answers, right? When I said, hey, make sure you know the difference between E11 and E10 category, right? And on site, one is type 1 and the others are type 2. So I'm not going to eliminate this right away because if this says that the patient has type 1, then we know we can eliminate all the other 3. But something's getting eliminated. Now let's approach our scenario. A 68-year-old patient with diabetes and CKD presents for a routine follow-up. The provider documents diabetic nephropathy. Lab confirms stable renal function with CKD stage 3B. All right, coders. What is the best of the 4? Okay, I just want to say hello to you, Tiffany, and Newtland. Good job. Good to see your answers. Okay, Hoden, I love it. If I'm saying your name wrong, I apologize. I just want to acknowledge you. Kenyo, outstanding job just answering. And that's right, Mr. Sandeep. The chat is on fire. All right, so my inventory is diabetes mellitus, And you notice I'm writing in abbreviation just kind of to get you accustomed to seeing it. So if they do document in your on your exam that way, you know what it is. Stage 3B, CKD, chronic kidney disease, and diabetic nephropathy. All right, those are my keywords. So what guideline is applied? Well, the guideline that says if the type of diabetes is not documented, the default will be type 2. So right away, we can get rid of that doggone C, ear distraction. And we can also get rid of D. And the reason is because E11.9 is a non-specific diabetes code, right? That point 9 suggests that it's non-specific. Now, and the reason we got rid of it is because we are coding for diabetic nephropathy. That is a very specific type of diabetes, right? So we are also going to get rid of B, we're going to get rid of B. You know what? Okay. We're going to get rid of B because it is the code they're using, E11.29, is the code for other CKD complications. Whenever you see other, that means that the doctor specified the type of complication, but it's not in the book, right? Our doctor was very specific and it is in the book. Diabetic nephropathy is in the book. So A is your answer, E11.21. And if you said A, way to go, way to go, way to go. And I got a gem. So whenever you see other complications, that's anywhere in ICD-10. That means the complication is not listed in ICD-10-CM. And don't forget to use the diabetes default code when the complication has not been mentioned by the doctor. So you use this when the complication is not documented, or they just have diabetes, right? All right, how are you doing? I just want to take a pause, see how you're doing. Somebody said they got it. That's what I'm talking about, Yvonne. Muku said they are good. Muku fit. Okay, Newtland. All right, here we go. Of the following answers, which best describes the encounter? A, O24.113, E11.9, 79, Z79.4, and Z3A.28. B, E11.9, Z3A.28. C, O24.414, Z3A.28, and D, O24.414, Z79.4, Z3A.28. I'm going to pause here. Coders, are you all recognizing some of these codes? I know some of the interns do. Our interns are students. Some of them are students and some are not. That they're all students, but some of them have their certification. Their CPC at least, or CCSP. So can you recognize on site some of these? Yeah. Yes, we at least know E11.9 and Z79.4. And if you've gone further, you know what this Z3A.28 is. Just saying. Okay, a 30-year-old pregnant woman at 28 weeks gestation is diagnosed with gestational diabetes controlled with insulin. She's referred for diabetic counseling and monitoring. Okay, coders, type your answers in the chat. And yes, I've placed what those answers are, but you can look them up too. It's a good idea if you can to look up some things. It is because guidelines are guidelines. And sometimes they're sitting right next to that code or in that instructional note above or below. I love it. The participation is amazing. And I love the fact that majority of you were able to narrow it down to two, and you all are correct. Outstanding. All right. So I'm going to inventory. This is 28 weeks gestation. The patient has gestational diabetes. Type in the chat if you know what gestational diabetes is. Also, this diabetes is controlled with insulin. So I'm going to go reference a guideline. And the guideline I'm referencing is IC484, diabetes mellitus in pregnancy and gestational diabetes. So either it's going to be pre-existing diabetes or gestational. Pre-existing means that diabetes existed before the pregnancy. Gestational, the pregnancy is related to the diabetes. You all are rocking it. So we can answer this question. We have gestational diabetes, not because we're guessing. The doctor says it's gestational, so we're going to have to follow the gestational guideline. And it says you're going to code from 024.4. So we can eliminate some things on site, right? We can eliminate A and B. And you have to ask yourself, is this pre-existing or gestational? Always. That's your first question. We already established it's gestational. So we're going to get rid of the pre-existing. 024.113. And also, if you need to, in this section in your book, it's good that you know the trimesters, the trimester periods. It's just good. So for this scenario, this patient is in her third trimester. Now, let's have a brief discussion on pre-existing versus gestational. And my goal is to help you see the difference between these codes on site, right? So 024.1 is your pre-existing type 2, and this diabetes existed prior to the pregnancy. The other was pretty much related to the pregnancy, and that's 024.4. That's the difference. 024.1, 024.4 is the difference. And the key differences is you code them different. So you code the type of diabetes, the type of diabetes additionally, as well as insulin when the patient has pre-existing. And these instructional notes tell you to do it. They say code that E11 and code your insulin. Whereas gestational, you don't code that E11 because the patient doesn't have that, and you don't code any treatment because it's integral. It's built into the code, see? You all with me? So for everybody that said D, lock in. The insulin is integral. So if it's built into the O code, you do not have to code it additionally, right? There it is. So the difference between C and D is coding for that insulin, and C is not. And if you had an aha moment, that's priceless. And if you got it correct, outstanding. You knew your guideline. Way to go, way to go, way to go. And that's kind of typical too. In ICD-10-CM, you don't have to code it additionally if it's integral to the code. Good job. If you have questions, go ahead and type in the chat. And while you're typing, I'm going to tell you about this gem. Learn to distinguish pre-existing and gestational diabetes on site. So that 024, they're both from the same category, but one is 1 and one is 4. Good job. Good job. Good job. Good job. All right. I think we have like 5 more minutes. I believe this is the last one. All right. Of the following, and I have my inventory up to kind of help you all along. Of the following answers, which best describes the encounter? A, G89.29, M54.5. B, M54.5. C, G89.4, M45.5, and D, G89.29. A 43-year-old female presents for evaluation and management of chronic low back pain lasting more than 6 months. The provider documents chronic pain syndrome due to failed back surgeries. Pain management and behavioral therapy are part of the treatment plan. Okay, coders, what say you? Okay, those answers are coming through, and you all knocked it out the park. Knocked it out the park. I think we got everyone said the same thing. What? Carolyn, just want to let you know I answered your question. Hopefully you can see it. If you can't, I'm going to ask a team to kind of reach out to you. All right. My inventory. We have chronic low back pain. Had it for 6 months. That's an indicator that it's chronic. And the doctor says this patient has chronic pain syndrome due to these failed back surgeries. So this patient has low back pain, and the patient is receiving pain management and behavioral therapy. So these are my keywords. And I just want to study the pain guidelines. If you all just kind of, just kind of, you know, Come with me. This is me studying. And this is what I had to do to get to that answer. All right, so I studied guideline IC6B1A, and this says basically that you can sequence these G89 codes first, right? So you can sequence it first as well as the underlying cause of pain, which was the low back pain. So I went to guideline IC6B6, and this is chronic pain syndrome. And it pretty much says that you use G89.4. And right here, it says the provider must specifically document chronic pain syndrome. And it says it right here. These are actual ICD-10-CM guidelines. We have not touched them. And just so you know, the color part is AMCI talking, but the white part is ICD-10-CM. So the provider must specifically document that pain syndrome. Then I went over to IC6B1 and 2, and this is for site-specific pain coding. And it basically says when the site is not bundled into that pain code, you can code it additionally. And that gave me enough to conclude that chronic pain syndrome is more complex than chronic pain, right? Because the provider has to specifically document chronic pain syndrome. So I'm going to code chronic pain syndrome over chronic pain, and then this G89 category can be coded with the specific site. But you all already knew that because you coded it exactly the way it should. So chronic pain syndrome is my first listed code, and I'm going to follow this metric, these little guidelines that I wrote, these gems, and I'm going to follow it. So I'm going to code my chronic pain syndrome, and I'm also going to code my specific site of the pain. So B is gone because it's only coding low back pain. That is not going to do the job. And I'm also going to get rid of D because it's only coding chronic pain. And I'm also going to get rid of A because it's only coding chronic pain as well as the low back. And then my answer is chronic pain syndrome as well as the specific site of the pain, which is low back. Coders, how are you doing? If you said C like you all did, you all didn't need to walk like I did, but I go through these guidelines. I always do, just to make sure I'm what I'm saying is supported. Okay, so if you got that correct, like you all did, outstanding. But if you learned something, hopefully you did, that's priceless. So these are my final words. Try to complete week 5, everything before this class, right? Try and complete it all. We're going to talk about the circulatory system because it makes this conversation that much more, it makes it better. We can have an adult conversation. Like we're not talking about things that, that kind of slow down the class. Like we shouldn't be talking about how to look it up and so forth. And I like this pace. I do. I love it. I hope you do too. All right, just want to let the gold online course members know to just follow your LMS in order. And if anything is not there that should be, make sure that you let us know. Okay. And I got some final tips. Remember this class is not for instruction. So if you went in here and said, I need you to explain it this way, Mrs. J. No, this is the way I want to explain it because I want to be able to talk to you like this. And if you can understand what I'm saying, then that means that you've reached a certain level and you're almost ready. You are. So you should be confident. Definitely use your Quizlet, study endocrine and pain. Remember, you don't have to remember guidelines. Just know they exist. What you need to remember, I'll tell you, like that one, uncontrolled, uncontrolled diabetes is hyperglycemia. It just is. If you look it up, it will say that. Never ever use the blind process of elimination, no matter how much you want to. Always read the scenario before you make your final answer. And remember, 2026 guidelines will take precedence. And if you have the AAPC practice code, put it down. Don't do it until after you have passed your certification. All right? It's a distraction. And that's the best advice I can give. Now we need you. I need you. I need you to complete this survey. Some of you diligently do it each week. And I just thank you for that. I do. I really appreciate you taking the time. And it's not a long scenario. It's not a long survey. It's very short and it helps us. It helps us deliver the best. So I think that's it. So I just want to say thank you, everyone. I want to thank my team, Ms. Mills, Mr. Sandeep, Miss Haley. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my interns. I see you, Miss Beth. I see you, Miss Leslie. And if I missed anybody, please forgive me. And thank you, coders, for showing up each week. And you are showing out. And I said at the onset of this instruction, week 1, if this pace is too fast by week 5, you're going to be okay. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing more answers in this chat. And thank you for doing the work. And Miss Haley, she says you all are amazing and you were outstanding. All right. So on that note, I want to say so long.
4,000 exam passers and free classes at AMCI. Learn to code straight from home or on the road at AMCI.